What's up, weirdo? Shade Tree Surgeon here, and it is a rainy, shitty day here in Florida, which means it's a perfect day to work on motorcycles in the garage. We're coming back at you with another episode of the Yamaha Chopper Build Series. What I'm going to try to do today is re-engineer the rear brake pedal. You see the setup I have on there now, it does work. It stops the bike just fine, but I'm just really not a fan of how it looks. So you've got this rod that goes all the way back with no pivot points at all, and it is actually at a little bit of an angle as well. The other problem being that when you kick it, the bottom of the Kickstarter actually touches the rod right about there. So over time, if you're kicking it and kicking it and kicking it, that cannot be good for that. So we're gonna try to engineer something a little cleaner, something that puts that rod on the inside. Now, doing this is going to involve some cutting, some welding, and some drilling. With the parts that I have here, what I'm going to try to do is make the stock brake pedal and stock brake equipment off an XS650 work with a hardtail chopper, because if you guys are familiar with XS's, the rear brake pedal is actually part of the frame, or at least the pivot point is part of the frame that gets cut off for the hardtail to go on this bike. So in order to do this, I need to use a drill press because we need exact holes for this. I need it to be exactly right, and I got a new drill press today, and since I got a new drill press, it's time for yet another episode of that epic saga of Joshua's box. Let's mount a drill press to it. So I've got my variable speed Wen drill press here. You guys will know I was talking about getting this in the last video, and it's got great reviews, so I went ahead and ordered it. I definitely wanted something that was variable speed because I'm not going to be drilling a whole lot of wood. I'm mainly going to be drilling metal, and you need to be able to go real slow when you're drilling metal. Man, after I spent all that time staining this and polishing it and making it look super pretty, I'm about to drill some big old holes in it. That works all right. Not bad, not bad. Well, let's put her to use. Well, all right, now that I got my drill press mounted, you can see it back there, it's time to get into what is gonna be, dare I say, fabrication work. And we're using the term loosely today, but I am going to be fabricating. We're coming into a little bit of unknown territory for me. You see, I'm going to be using a lot of skills that I've been acquiring as we've gone along this journey. Today, I'm gonna have to be using the grinding wheel, I'm gonna have to be using the welder, I'm gonna have to use all these things that I've been learning, why I've been doing this. You know, if you're just tuning in right now, you know, we're working on this XS650 chopper back here, but I'm learning as I go along. I didn't start out with any knowledge at all on how to build a motorcycle, how to weld, how to do any of this. It's definitely been a long process. It's definitely been an insane journey, and today I'm really trying to take all those things that I've learned and culminate them into making a better solution for my rear brake. As I was showing you guys earlier, the rear brake setup is completely functional, but there's a few different problems. One, this actually hits the case right here, and I'm not really fond of that. And on top of that, when you kickstart it, this will actually hit this right here. So every time you kick it, it pushes this down. It's just really not good. If you ever got this powder coated or polished, this would constantly be messing it up. The other problem is it just doesn't really look that great. It's really long, it's kind of awkward, and if you come over here, it actually bows out at an angle, so it doesn't follow the line of the bike at all. You see right here, it's got those two Heim joints on it because it has to have them, because it just doesn't work. It goes from there to there, and but I don't know. I just don't like it. This the whole idea of building a chopper is form over function, but This is doing neither because it doesn't function super great and the form of it isn't that great either, so it just sucks all around. So let's see if we can do something better. I don't have high hopes, but we're gonna try. So to try to make this work, we've got a few different parts here. One is the stock brake lever for a Yamaha XS650. That's the stock brake lever pivot for a XS650, and these pieces of tubing here are from Hughes Hand Built. He makes these, and basically this right here will accept the stock XS pivot, and then you mount it to the frame and on top of this. But of course all this has to be welded in. And basically they sell it to you long, and you've got to cut it to length to be able to weld it to your frame. So we need to pick a likely spot here on the frame where we're gonna weld this, and then also cut it to length and make sure it's the right height for this brake pedal to work. Obviously this is just way too tall as it is, I think. So we're gonna have to kind of mock things up here a little bit to see where this brake pedal needs to sit in order to use it properly. But before we do any of that, we gotta go ahead and pull off all the old hardware. Luckily these pegs still work fine without the actual brake hardware on them. Alright, what I'm trying to do now is mock up where this is going to be so I can drill another hole in this and then cut it off so I can weld this on the bottom and on the top. But this is obviously proving to be slightly more difficult than I anticipated. So it's kind of hard to tell exactly where it's going to need to sit in order for it to have a nice brake pedal feel. You know, this doesn't have much throw to it, so I want to make sure you can get all the action you need. With the way these pegs are, it's looking like it's actually going to have to be cut pretty low. So, I mean, it's almost going to have to be right about here. You know, I can just basically just get my fingers underneath it. Gosh. There's probably a better way to mock this up that I don't know about, but yeah, I don't know about it. So basically I'm going like, yeah, about a little more than a finger, maybe 2 fingers worth? Yeah, 2 fingers worth, we'll call it that. So maybe about as wide as it is. So maybe if it was just this much taller, so maybe just an inch, because that's what this tubing is. It's 1-inch tubing. So if it's just an inch off the frame rail, I think that's where it'll need to be. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. That looks about where a brake pedal would be. I don't know, you tell me. Of course, you're going to be telling me after the fact because this video will already be done and it'll be cut and welded. So, or maybe I'll just fuck up and this video will never see the light of day. That's very likely. I'm going to say that's where the top of my hole needs to be. My new hole that I'm drilling here in order to cut it off in half to make this same shape on the other side. I don't know if I'm doing this right, I'll be totally honest with you. There may be some way cooler way to make this hole in here that I don't know about, and I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the top of my hole. You can see I'm using very, very exact science here to get this done. And since the hole is going to be 1 inch in diameter, I've got this big ass drill bit over here to hopefully make a hole in this. It's going to be 1 inch in diameter. There's the top. Round about there's the bottom. And that's where it's going to be. I'll drill somewhere here in the middle, I guess. Right? Here goes nothing. I've only got this one piece, so I kind of can't fuck this up. Alright, well that looks straight up and down to me. So obviously the other hole has to go the opposite way, so I don't know. Here goes nothing. Well, when I'm trying to make this straight, luckily this thing comes equipped with frickin' lasers! So I do know exactly where this enormous drill bit is gonna descend into this piece of metal. This thing is actually too big. It's actually gonna probably hit my rubber pieces when I put this in. I wonder if I should start with a smaller pilot hole or something like that. I'm not really sure. I thought the whole point of getting a drill press is that I don't have to fuck around with pilot holes anymore. I can just go for the gold and go full size right out of the gate. I guess we'll find out. It's time to drill a big ass hole in this piece of metal. Here goes nothing, boys and girls. slow when you do this. I've got the drill pretty much on the lowest speed, the lowest RPM that it'll go. And I'm also making this hole really, really slow as well. Of course, one of my clamps started to come loose, so it got cockeyed a little bit. So let me see if hopefully I can salvage this. I might have fucked it up though. Cool. Luckily, even though now I can't see it on the top because I've already made a hole there, I can see the laser on the inside of the tubing, and I've still got it lined up, so I think I'm going to be all right. I'm just going to have to reclamp this thing in place and start over. Let's try again. Uh-oh. That's stuck. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say that this does not look the best compared to the one that came pre-made on there. So I've got some work to do if I'm going to make this look like something I actually want on my motorcycle. So let's bust out the Dremel tool. All of a sudden I'm incredibly cognizant of the fact that I had a working brake lever on the bike already. It's too late now, let's get into it. Alright, I'm finding I don't have quite as much control as I need with the Dremel tool, so files it is! We're starting to get better. It's still not perfect, but honestly, this really doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be covered up by weld anyway. So as long as it's reasonably straight and everything can fit in there like I want it to, we'll be doing all right. And it looks like we're getting pretty damn close. All right, we're approaching something slightly more reasonable. So obviously that's just setting on there, but that's about where I want the thing to set. So now comes the scary part, is welding that in place and hopefully having a brake pedal that works afterwards, because I'm doing all sorts of stuff to replace a working brake pedal. So it would be nice to replace a working brake pedal with another working brake pedal. So before I start welding, I'm going to go ahead and mark where this goes and then use a little bit of this sandpaper here, emery tape, whatever you want to call it, and clean up the weld area. Alright, I'm performing without a net this time because I have no supervision at all. Usually there's somebody in charge of me when I start to do something like this, so it's the first time for everything, I guess. So I'm going to start by making just 2 little tack welds on either side, because I've been told in instructional videos that welding will pull it back and forth, so you want to do your tacks on either side before you start to do the whole thing. Here goes nothing. I should probably get a chair. Well, that didn't work. It doesn't do a lot of good if you keep fucking missing it now, does it? Luckily, grinders exist. It's ugly, but that's alright. I'm not trying to make it pretty. I'll make it at least passable with the grinder later. All I'm trying to do is make her stick. I know this looks ugly. Yes, it's horrible, but you know what? I'll fix it. I'll grind it down at the end. It'll look all right. God, it looks real bad though, doesn't it? Like real bad. Everybody starts somewhere. I'm just starting way at the bottom. All right, time to make some hipster fireworks and see if I can't clean up this mess. So the other thing I'm seeing now that I've ground a little bit of the excess material away is all the places I didn't actually get any weld in. So, all right, so things have been going what I would call less than smooth, but that is less than surprising, really. I've got this welded on here. I've got the top part welded on here as well. So this is where the pivot joint goes, and so this is all ready to go. Now herein lies the problem. Now this is actually too tall. I would have actually had to make this a little bit shorter in order to really utilize the rear brake without hitting the brake stay. Right now it hits the brake stay, so I'm going to have to go over the brake stay, which means I'm going to have to make the arm, the actuator arm on the drum shorter in order to go over it. I think the technical term for what's happening right now is a clusterfuck, but let's give it a whirl and see what happens. Now let's go ahead and drill a hole and make some threads in this guy. Alright, moment of truth. I have my shorter brake rod, I have my new brake actuator which with its drilled hole and it's tapped, and I've got threads on the end of this. Will it work? Or at least will it work up on the lift? You know, will it work out on the street is a whole different. Well, for better or for worse, there she is. I don't know if it's better or if it's worse, but that's certainly what it is right there. Now that my bar goes across there, I pretty much spent all day fixing a problem that wasn't actually broken. So I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, it looks okay. I don't think it looks any necessarily worse than the other system, but I don't know if it necessarily looks better either. But it's something. There she is, baby. So obviously it's a little too late to test ride the thing right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that tomorrow morning, and I'll do it with the GoPro on, so I'll catch up with you guys then. Well, all right, here we go. First test ride with the new rear brake pedal. I mean, basically it should work exactly the same, theoretically. I don't know, whether it looks better or not, I guess is up to the eye of the beholder. I personally think it looks better because everything is just kind of tucked away in here now. Before, it just felt very exposed, like it could get broken very easily, and also, like I said, the Kickstarter was hitting it, so I knew I couldn't leave that on the finished product. So this, I think it looks better. Well, you tell me in the comments. So let's see if it actually works. As it starts to rain. I don't know, man. Riding this sketchy ass chopper with questionable brakes, although it does feel it's stopping it. I don't know how well it's stopping it, but it's slowing down. I don't know. I feel pretty good about that. I mean, I made that. I made these rear brakes, sort of. I mean, sort of. I was about to see if I could lock it up, but now that it's raining, that's kind of a moot point. Even if they weren't very good, I feel like they could probably lock it up. I don't fucking know, man. It's just so, when you're operating without a net like I am, it's so hard to know if you're doing the right thing or not. Like, I'm building these brakes and welding them, and my welds aren't very good, but, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or not. It's like I'm riding around my neighborhood and go like, sure, these brakes work, like they stop the bike, but whether they're gonna actually stop the bike when it comes time to be putting hundreds of miles on it, like I don't know, man. How can you know? Right now they work fine for going like, 30 miles an hour in my neighborhood illegally. What are they? Well, how are they gonna work in the real world? I guess there's only one way to find out, right? You know, the people who fabricate stuff, not that I'm calling myself a fabricator, although I guess I could, they gotta guess too, you know? They don't just go like, yeah, I know for sure this is gonna work. They just go, well, I don't know, maybe it will. That's where I am. I got a whole lot of maybes in my life right now, but I'm still gonna call it a win because they do actually work. I mean, they're stopping the motorcycle. You'll see I haven't touched the front brake at all. Slow down for this. I mean, You're gonna have to be aware of them, that's for sure. They're not the Brembos on the Ducati, that's for goddamn sure, but I don't know, maybe they'll work for this. Anyway, till next time, weirdos, so I ruined something else on this motorcycle. We'll see you in the next one.